Welcome to Dr. Pepper and Friends, where grit, grace, and wholehearted living come together. And now, here's Dr. Pepper.
Hey, welcome to Dr. Pepper and Friends, and this is where grit and grace come together for wholehearted living. And, I say that every week, but the goal of our show is to really explore the idea of grit, and it's more than toughness. It's determination with high stakes and with meaning, but also to apply grace, because performance is not really what we're going for as much as steadiness. And grace is kind of what fills that gap. And that's kind of what we're all about. So as one theologian said, we work as if it all depends on us, and that's grit. And then we trust as if it all depends on God, and that's grace. So Dr. Pepper and Friends is all about putting those two together for wholehearted living, and that's how we want to be. We want to be able to step into the Christ bearers that we've been created to be. So grit and grace coming together for wholehearted living. All right, so I'm glad you're with us today. January tends to be a kind of a personal State of the Union. For many people, we have the State of the Union address later this month to let us know how our country is doing, and we have kind of a reflection and New Year's resolutions sometimes that we make at the beginning of a year. But it's a natural time, a natural break for us to pause, to kind of take inventory and to get honest about where things really stand in our lives. So this month we're kind of leaning into that posture with a short series that we're calling The State of the Man, okay? So not politically, but personally, emotionally, relationally, and spiritually. And today's conversation is about adventure, all right? So not adventure as escape or adrenaline chasing, but adventure as engagement, as challenge, as something that wakes men up in their own lives. For a long time, I've noticed that many men aren't lacking responsibility or discipline. Sometimes there are exceptions to that. They're just carrying a lot. But when life becomes too safe and too contained and too predictable, something essential can go quiet on the inside. So that question, what men lose when they lose adventure, has been one of the threads that's been shaping kind of a broader training framework that I've been developing called FieldCraft. And as of the time of this drop, FieldCraft is going live within the next 24 hours or so. And it's not a pitch, it's not a program, but it's kind of a way of naming what actually forms steadiness in real life. You can learn more about this in the link in the show notes below, or just go to FieldCraft Outdoor Co, like company, FieldCraftOutdoorCompany.com, and you can learn more about that. So this conversation is a part of that exploration. And I am joined today by my friend, Aaron Grissom. And Aaron is not a mental health professional. He's not a pastor. He's just a dude. And he's a husband. He's a father. He is a volunteer. He does a lot of mission work. But he is one of the most balanced, adventurous spirits of anyone that I know. And we have shared some very meaningful adventures and challenges together. We have shared some mentors together, and he loves his wife, loves his kids, loves the Lord. And together we're going to talk about why men still need adventure, and what it gives us, and what happens when we avoid adventure. Especially the tactical kind, the intentional kind. So thanks for joining us, and let's just jump into this conversation. So we have Aaron, my friend, and you don't even know this, but one of the reasons I asked you to do this podcast is because you're a common denominator on a lot of the greatest adventures I have ever had. Okay, so I don't know if you remember our first adventure.
Dominica?
Nope, it was before that.
No.
If you look at this picture right here, that might give you a hint.
Oh yeah, fly fishing.
Yeah, so we went fly fishing, and I think the other common denominator that you and I have in to a lot of my adventures was our friend David, your uncle David, that has been, probably I've been on as many adventures with him as you have. You grew up kind of doing adventures with him, scuba diving and skiing and all kinds of things. And I've been on a bunch of mission trips with him, and you have too. And then we've been on some mission trips together. And then I guess our last adventure together was in southern Colorado with a backpacking trip. So. So lots of fun there. So,
it is.
So yeah,
it's a lot of good memories.
Yeah. So I'm doing this podcast because I think one of the things that I recognize with a lot of guys is that there's this paradox. We are probably more sedentary and more have more comforts than we've ever had in history, and yet at the same time, I see a lot of guys just much more kind of restless and ready to do something that challenges them than I've ever noticed before too. And so that brings us to this idea of adventure, and especially as we get into adulthood, it's almost like we have to plan those instead of them happening as naturally as they did when we were kids.
Right.
So I just want to pick your brain a little bit today. So what do you think it is about adventure that just kind of draws men in and draws them to it?
It's the sense of completion, the sense of the unknown. Can I tackle something? Can I do something?
Yeah.
And can I do it well? That I want to be able to make sure that whatever I attempt, I can finish. I can go about it. I can be on par. It's kind of a measuring stick in some, it's kind of hard to say that, but you see other people and, hey, what can I do? How do I measure up to this? What can I do? And it's a little bit of peace, when you get out there.
Yeah.
I love being in different situations, and like you said, the fly fishing trip, and those are some moments that you feel close to the people you're with and God and yourself. It's a relaxing time.
I mean, I think all those elements are just a part of it. I mean, I think, beauty is something that draws us. There's no doubt about that. But you're right. I think just being present in a way that you're not present every single day.
Yeah.
And there's something, especially if it's requiring new skills, for you, that you have to think about it more than, you think about anything else. Have you ever rock climbed?
I've rappelled, and we've done some high element stuff, but I've never actually ascended.
Yeah.
But
I've done that once. Okay.
Yeah.
I had a buddy of mine that loved rock climbing. He's really good at it. He's, better than average level. And he talked me into going. We went down over to somewhere in the Cumberland Plateau and we did some rock climbing. I think I got up probably about 60 feet. And for some people, it's only 60 feet. No, 60
feet's high.
It's pretty high when you're climbing.
Yeah.
And I was surprised by two things. One, I was surprised by it wasn't as strenuous physically as I thought it was going to be. I had moments that I could actually rest and continue climbing. But the other thing that surprised me is just how much of my mental energy it consumed in that moment when I was on the face of that rock. And I've got this guy belaying me, and I'm on a harness. But when I'm on this rock, I'm challenging myself here, but I couldn't think about anything else except the face of that rock. And I think that's what adventure does.
Yeah.
Is that it puts you in this novel environment where that's all you can think about.
Yeah. You're locked in.
Yeah. Just kind of locked in.
Yeah.
What do you think that adventure does for us as guys internally? What do you think it does for our hearts?
To me, it's a reset. It's one of those things that you get to push off everything else because you are so focused on the task at hand. It's a renewing in a way. It allows you time to just get back to yourself. Like you said, you're self-dependent in a lot of situations. You were talking about rock climbing. I don't do a lot of that, but I do a lot of hunting, and I use a climbing harness. I hunt out of a tree saddle, which is basically a harness. And it's funny because I'm attached to the tree the whole time. I tell people it's safer than climbing a ladder stand because you're rigged in. But there's those moments when you're hugging that tree. I mean, you're only 20, maybe 30 feet, depending on how you go.
Yeah.
But how high that seems. And you have to trust all those things that are there. So you're right about locking in, making sure you have your checks and your balances. Hey, will this device work? Is this plugged in right? I mean, your whole life is resting on that one little cord, that one little carabiner. Did you get clipped in right? Did you get set up? You want to do something that maybe that's why I like it. There's not as many people do it, or I adopted it early before there was as many people doing it. And I like that challenge of doing something. I'm an early adopter of anything. My wife kind of makes fun of me because the newest gadget, the newest device, the newest, hey, let's try this. I love to figure those things out. And so the adventure side of me is, can I tackle this? Can I accomplish it? Can I do it safe?
Yeah, and we love gear.
Yeah, I'm a gearhead.
We just love gear. I think I wound up getting my Garmin radar for my bicycle because of a conversation that you and I had about gear.
Yeah.
So there's something to that. I mean, you've gotten to have some pretty grand adventures. I think it doesn't get a lot more epic than, backpacking for 4 or 5 days in southern Colorado. I guess unless you're on Everest. And you were recently at the Arctic Circle.
Yeah. It's funny because we talk about adventure. I'm fortunate because my wife loves adventure, and her adventure is travel. I mean, and she loves to go. I would probably be a homebody, like in this kind of area, if it wasn't for her. But she loves trips, and we're not taking a trip where you just go sit in a hotel or a spa,
lay around the beach.
We're out doing things, and we're moving. So Arctic Circle was an adventure, just because it was something new. It was a little bit different. Staying out in negative temperatures just to see Arctic lights, and I probably would have given up on that one.
Yeah,
but she was so determined because you have to wait the right conditions, the right time, and we stayed out way until my fingers were numb to get some of these pictures.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. I don't think of a lot of the things we did as adventures at the time, but looking back on it, it's kind of like that type 2 type fun.
Yeah.
What have we done? You talk about scuba diving because of David. I was able to intern at the Living Seas and probably spent a month underwater, wrestling sea turtles and
manatees.
Feeding sharks and manatees. And, and then that got me to diving with other people and some of our trips. It's just been our backpacking trips. It's been fun.
Yeah. And I think what you mentioned is really important, is that what we need on the inside of us we can't do those big epic adventures every month or every week, right? So there's those other seasons sometimes we do those once a season of life or once a year or something like that. But we have these other adventures that are maybe closer to home and more. They're still very restorative, and our heart needs those things too. And I think the other thing that you mentioned, and this is super important, a lot of times, especially with guys, when we think about adventures, we think that, okay, that's got to be done with other dudes. And there's a place for that, and there's times that we do that. But man, some of the greatest adventures I've had has been with my wife.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, I'll show this photo on the YouTube version. But the other one of the greatest days of our marriage is down here with my wife's holding a trout, and she had caught this trout. And if you could see, we were with a guide we were out in Colorado on the Colorado River, and I caught one, my first one. She went with me to take a picture with my first trout on the trip, and this was her first trout she had ever taken, or ever caught, and ever landed. So she landed the trout, she got it in, and I've got this on video, but the guide has got it in the net, and he's about to hand it to her for the picture. She says, "Now I want to hold it, but will it hurt?" And she, of course, I've got the photo of her taking the picture, but it's just those kind of memories that you wind up having that are just, I mean, that's from kind of an epic adventure for us, but sometimes I mean, I've got adventures, that I memories with her, kayak fishing and some lakes around here too that are pretty priceless too. So it doesn't always have to be the big,
No.
big trip.
It's core memories with family are fantastic. That makes me think once, I think it was right before we got married, my wife and I went on a little kind of fishing excursion trip. And it was one of these little creeks, and I was teaching her how to catch crawfish under rocks. And so she is, if you know my wife, she is not scared of anything. I mean, she's just go, go, go. And so I'm teaching her how to grab these crawfish. I'm thinking she's going to be a little shy. I'm going to be this brave guy. No, she reaches down, grabs one, and then her immediate thought was, I got it, I got it. And then, of course, it turned around and pinched her finger, and then she started screaming, it's got me, it's got me. And so it's fun to see her do those type of things and be willing to get out. And, my daughter's the same way. She'll be willing to get out and go.
Yeah.
They don't do it all the time, but it's fun to have them involved.
Yeah. So worth mentioning, I think, is, not everybody is wired to hunt and fish and those kinds of things. What would you say are some other kinds of adventures that kind of bring out some of the same things from our heart that cause us to be present, that cause us sometimes to adapt and to deploy skills that we didn't know that we had and push ourselves a little bit? It may not be kind of the outdoorsy hunting and fishing kind of stuff.
I think adventure is, while I love the outdoor side of it, it's doing something that's unknown. I'm not great at the financial side, trying to invest in things. But for me, that's kind of an adventure because I'm not great at it, but I like to dabble in it.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of risk to it. What am I going to do? So doing something new. I'm also, we have a piece of property. So right now we're clearing property out. We're clearing land. We're trying to build a road. I'm not a construction person by any means, but it has been so much fun learning out the equipment. What do I need to do? What the process? My wife makes fun of me because all I watch on YouTube is other people, how they go about this process. How do I learn? How do I do it? And it's because I don't want to fail at it. It's a release. It's a relaxation for me.
Yeah.
And she hates hearing the beeping on the TV as I'm watching somebody else mow down a tree or something. But yeah, there was a risk. There's a financial component to it. I mean, there's a lot of investment in equipment and other things. I don't want to lose those risks. I don't want to fail at that task. And so that in itself has been a little bit of an adventure for me.
Yeah. I think just sometimes just travel.
Yeah.
It may not require you shooting anything or catching anything, but just going to new places and having to adapt to a language or having to adapt to a culture. There's some adventure to that. I think even things just like, you mentioned just learning something new. I mean, I'm in an adventure right now. I've been a little bit, proficient is maybe too strong of a word, but at guitar over the years. And what I wanted for Christmas and my family got it for me was a mandolin. So I'm learning how to play a mandolin right now. And that's an adventure. And I think for me to just complete one entire song would be an incredible accomplishment. But man, I can't imagine the adventure that might go with, going down to the old country store and playing with the Plectoral Society and just playing along with some of those. But then to ever imagine actually playing in front of somebody that's wanting to listen or is willing to listen, in front of an audience or something, that would be an adventure. So it's not always, the kind of the outdoorsy, Chaco kind of stuff.
No,
it's other things that just put you in this novel environment where you've got to adapt.
Yeah. Get your heart rate up, get you a little excited.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Listen, I can get up and speak for, 4 hours and I'm cool. Right. Yeah. But if you ask me to do anything musical for about 3 minutes, I'm in a panic attack, and it requires a lot more bandwidth for me.
Yeah. I have no musical ability whatsoever.
Yeah. So what if we don't get that? So if we as men need that, and women, it's not just men, but in fact, I looked at some numbers on adventure, and about 63% of all men participate in some kind of outdoor adventure regularly, and about 50% of women do. So the numbers are pretty close, and the numbers for men have gone down in the last 10 years, from about 70% to about 63%. But the numbers for women have begun going up. But if especially for men, if that's a need that we have to get outside of the doldrums in the routines of life and do something that makes our heart come alive, if we don't do that intentionally, what do you suppose might happen to us?
Complacency. I think we degrade a little bit. My wife will tell you if I'm not out doing something for a few days that I get a little antsy. She'll tell me, "Hey, you need to go out." It's funny how the other people can recognize that in your life.
Yeah.
You change a little bit. I told you earlier, it's kind of like a reset for me. So I think you have to be out there. There's a longing to get something done, and it's recognizable for people if you're not involved, if you're not doing the things that make you renew.
Yeah.
For me, when I'm outdoors, I'm closer to God. I feel like in a lot of situations, partly because I'm alone, it allows me time to think, contemplate, pray, think of scripture. And so if I'm not doing that, then typically I'm busy or I'm unplugged and I'm just sitting around and I'm not finishing something, I'm not accomplishing. So the fact that I go out, have a little adventure, go fishing, go hunting, go doing some work, or just getting my mind active, whether that's little adventures, like we talk about trips, things that are new, it's a reset for me. It pulls that focus back to, hey, who I am, why I'm here, what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. And I think, there's a temptation to go so overboard that it's not just a reset, it's an identity.
Yeah.
That's who I am, and I'm irresponsible with it. But adventure is not irresponsibility. Adventure is the opportunity that we have for that reset and to come back a better version of ourselves. I mean, there are things that I've done that I unpack in my mind for years, and just in terms of how it formed me. And for example, our backpacking trip, I got altitude sick, and somebody, I'm not going to name any names, had altitude sickness medicine, but yeah, I got altitude sick, and that just took me by such surprise, and yet, I kind of pushed through, and I had a lot of thoughts that I didn't think I would ever have. Like, I could probably drop $8,000 for the helicopter to come get me, and those kinds of things. But I pushed on through, and I'm just unpacking some of that for a long time. It forms us, it shapes us. We learn things about ourselves that we might not ordinarily learn, and without doing some of that intentionally, I think complacency is a dangerous place to be, because sometimes that sets us up to let adventure find us, and that's where sometimes, not always, sometimes secret lives develop in pornography and substances and other things that are kind of hidden that wind up finding us in order to take us to this place that's a novel environment that maybe we don't need to be. So being strategic about that and being intentional about adventure is kind of where it's at.
Yeah, I feel like I certainly believe that God created people to be active, to be involved. Several years ago, I was doing medical sales. I was doing a lot of things, and then my wife, who is a surgeon, she was like, we were having trouble getting kids back and forth, and so there came to a point where it was like, okay, I'm traveling all the time. I'm in the back of an OR telling a doctor how to use a piece of equipment. My wife's actually doing surgery, and yet we're trying to get my kids back and forth from school, and it was just rough. And so we made the decision, one of us needs to be close to home. So kind of setting that aside gave me more time than I've ever had. So there is some dangers in that.
Yeah.
That can just that extra time on your hands
Yeah.
with kids. And so luckily I had a lot of things that kept me busy. I would tell people that I was a professional volunteer during that stage of my life.
Yeah.
My kids are a little bit older now, so they're starting to drive. And but yeah, thanks to David, I think he kind of recognized a lot of that.
Yeah.
Hey, I need something to do. You know, we talked about him earlier, and so him getting me involved in mission trips, and not only that, but directing in a path that he knew that I liked. You know, I like woodworking, I like construction. So he's like, hey, these are the things that you would be involved in. This is what you would thrive in. And so he kind of pushed me to do some of those. And that was an integral part of that time of my life, to kind of fill that void a little bit. And plus it was that, you know, the new adventure. How do you plan for this? How do you take other people? How do you develop an experience that teaches them what God has in store for them and how to witness, you know, go make disciples for others. So
and I think this is kind of a good way to end this. But I mean, I think combining desires and passions that we have to be in novel environments with service, and I mean, some of the most epic adventures I've have been on mission trips. And I mean, we were in the country of Dominica together, not to be confused with the Dominican Republic. But I mean, gosh, I mean, we did some construction, which you underestimate your construction skills. I've seen you in action. But also, I mean, I got to speed, power, agility, reaction, and quickness train the Dominican national soccer team. I mean,
isn't that amazing?
I got to do that on a mission trip. I mean, imagine, never in my wildest dreams. So our need for adventure is something that's God-given, and God can use that in all kinds of different ways when we just kind of say yes at some point.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's the part, is not being afraid to fail a little bit. Just put yourself out there, go do it. I'm amazed that I can always accomplish a little more than I thought I could. A little bit more. You know, body might be a little bit lacking in some of the things, especially as I get a little bit older.
Just you wait.
Yeah, it's creeping up on me. But there's it's my mind that holds me back more than anything else. And so some of the adventure, whether those are the little trips, whether those are the big things, whether they're the dangerous things, they lock my mind in, they make it grow a little bit. They realize that I can expand, I can do a little bit more. So that's addictive. I think that's why we keep going to why we keep going back.
All right. Good stuff. My friend Aaron, thank you so much for being with us. And maybe we'll do it again. We need another adventure soon. All right. So as we wrap up, I hope this conversation helped put words to something that many men feel but don't always articulate, that comfort may make life easier, but it rarely makes us stronger or clearer or more alive. Now, this may be a show that you're watching or listening to as a man, and in order for maybe your loved one to understand you a little better, she may need to listen to this. This may be something that has given you some language for explaining why you need to do some of what you need to do, and to keep in mind that adventure is what wakes us up, but it's not our identity. We can experience adventure, but to stay there and be irresponsible is also it's kind of an extreme that we want to avoid. But one of the themes that just keeps surfacing in these conversations is that men don't drift into depth or steadiness. We are formed through engagement and through challenge and through movement and experiences that ask something of us. And this idea sits at the heart of this month's State of the Man series, and it's also part of the reason that FieldCraft exists as a training. Not therapy, not hype, but just as a way of helping men build strength that actually can be lived out in everyday life. So for those who have asked, that training is now available, and there's no pressure, no rush. This is just a conversation that kind of stands on its own. So if you want to check it out, again, show notes, FieldCraft Outdoor Company, FieldCraftOutdoorCo.com. Check that out. And in the weeks ahead, we're going to continue slowing things down a bit and exploring some other key areas: emotion, grit, purpose, authenticity, with some other thoughtful voices that will join us. So thanks for listening, and thank you, Aaron, for the conversation. And we're going to keep going next time on Dr. Pepper and Friends.